Okay, there are all kinds of different ways that we can estimate numbers. And the National Council of Teachers of Math and also the Common Core Standards talk about the importance of students or anyone being able to determine the reasonableness of an answer. And estimation or mental math is a way that we can determine reasonableness of answers. And we can do mental math for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, all four. Now, what we're going to do is talk about some different ways to do computational estimation. Now, it's not important that we know the name of what the method is so much as it is important that we see what the strategy involved in estimation is. Okay? So we're going to talk about looking at front-end estimation with adjustment. And this is one of my favorite ways to estimate. Okay, so front end would be that part there. And when I add that part that I have 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 5 is 12. Okay, so this is like 1200. Okay, but now we can get a better estimate than that. Okay, because then I could say, well, if I look at these two pieces, it's not exact, but that's close to 100. And then that would make 20 more. So I actually have 120 over here, and I have 1200 there. So my estimation would be that I have 1320, or my adjusted estimate is 1320. Okay? So again, go to your highest place and pull that front end off and do your addition, and remembering that these are in hundreds place, so that's like 12 hundreds. Then I look to the right again and try to match models that will get me close to 100. Okay, and then whatever's left by itself, then I bring that over, and then I just do the computation and end up with 1320. Now, this is probably the one that I use most often, and I don't call it grouping to nice numbers. All I say is that I'm grouping by tens or hundreds. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and say, okay, that's about 40 and that's about 60. So I can take those two and say those are about 100. Okay? Then on the right hand side, I'm going to look at this and say, well, that's about 50. And these two are about 50. So these two plus this one are about 100 on that part. So that I group to nice numbers, nice meaning 10 or 100. And so I add these together then, and by grouping to nice numbers, I see that this is going to be about, the sum will be about 200. Now, when is it useful? Okay, I'm doing a huge list of addition, and I end up with the number 2000. And I think, well, that's really weird, you know. So I do my nice numbers, and I end up with 200. So I know I made a mistake, and I've just got an extra zero in there somewhere. Somewhere I messed up. So that's a way to look and determine whether or not you actually have made a mistake. Okay, rounding to the highest place is a great one too. Okay, when we round to the highest place, or what I mean by rounding to the highest place is not to make it always round up, but I'm looking at the highest place value that I have. So 4,724 to the highest place value would be to thousands, and that 7 rule says 5 or more, so it makes that closest to 5,000. And I don't have to remember that rounding rule of 5 or more. just think about this. Is $4,724 closer to $5,000 or $4,000? And it's closer to $5,000. And is $3,192 closer to $3,000 or 4? And it's closer to, not 4, but $3,000 end of the day, you know. Then I add these two together, and 5,000 plus 3,000, not 4,000, is 8,000. So by rounding to the highest place, I end up and get 8,000. Now I could also do subtraction with this too. So let's take 1,267 minus 510. So it's the highest place for each one. So this says this is closer to 1,000, and 510 is closer to 500. So to subtract then, that would be 1,000 minus 500, which is 500. So this is approximately 500. Now, we see it's not exact, but it gives us a good estimate. Now, using the range is sometimes useful. We think about what it would be at the low and the high end. So at the low end, the top number would be the lowest. So we're looking at, is it closer to 300 or 400? So at the low end, it would be 300. At the high end, it would be 400. Okay, at the low end, 524 would be 500. The high end would be 600. So that when I add these, 5 plus 3 is 800, and 6 plus 4 is a 10 or 1,000. So that the sum of these two numbers is in the range of 800 to 1,000. So that gives you a good range. Now we know it's not 1,000 because we rounded everything up. We know it's not smaller than this because we'd round everything down, so it's going to be larger. So we pick the smallest thing it could be, the largest, and we know it's going to be somewhere in between, or in the range of 800 to 1,000. Just a different strategy, a series of different strategies that could be used for estimation.